Paul,
Okay.
so good to have you on here, sir.
Good to be here, buddy.
We're supposed to do it before, but you and I, we're both night owls, so we just couldn't let
Yeah,
it happen.
I had a bit of a debaucherous night on Wednesday night.
That's
I went
that's a
to
that's a
see,
proper day for a debaucherous night.
I went to see some trendy new band play and kicked up into some, I don't know, why not stay up till 4 in the morning and, do all this crazy drinking and, what,
Yeah,
it's insane. And then I hit
that's
you up and I was like, I can't do this thing at 10 because I'm having a summer fun night.
yeah. And who am I to deprive somebody of a summer fun night?
And thank you for being flexible. But
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm here.
we're doing it now. That's what's important. And of course, the debaucherous summer night is also important as well.
Yes.
What were you drinking?
I was drinking Tecates
Okay.
and Red Stripe beer. I pretty
Red,
much only drank beer, and then I had a glass of wine at the end of the night that kicked me in the. But that was it shouldn't have had.
right, right. Um, my experience with going to LA, there's a lot of Zacati around. You can
There
get
is.
you can find that relatively easily.
It's the cheapest beer at the bar. It's
Yeah,
like $5 is like the cheapest possible beer you could find.
that's why I like it. Yeah,
And
good,
I come
good.
from Chicago where you can get $2 and even $1 beer.
Oh man,
So
that's such a good deal. I mean, just from an economic standpoint, I mean that's just a great. How are we going to turn that down? A $2
exactly.
beer, a $1 beer.
Exactly. You can't.
Are you from Chicago originally?
I'm from Detroit. I'm from the
Oh,
Detroit suburbs. I was born in a place called Redford, Michigan, and then I moved to Plymouth, Michigan, and then I went to Chicago for 11 years when I was 18, and then now I live in LA for the last 2 years.
wow.
Yeah,
What drew you to Chicago from Detroit?
college and biggest possible city closest to where I was born, the magnet effect,
Good deal.
and I had a good time there.
What'd you go to school for?
I went to school for music. I went to music school for classical composition.
Good deal.
Yeah.
It's serving you well now, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I do music every single day. So it kind of worked out. I feel like a lot of people go to music school and don't do music every single day.
But you said I'm gonna use this. I'm coming here to do this. I'm gonna use
I
it.
somehow snuck out there with somehow somewhat of a career. Took a while. I worked a lot of coffee jobs and bar jobs in between.
Was that
But now I
was that
don't.
your main mode is service?
Yeah, pretty much. In service of everything, in service of the music and the awful patrons of the Italian restaurant that I most recently worked at in the
Did,
pandemic.
did you prefer being a barista or a bartender?
I preferred the bartender money, but I preferred the barista lifestyle.
The barista lifestyle.
It would be like, you know, $400 a week though to be a barista. It's like pretty bad. It's like not that great.
It's not great. No.
But I would make sure I was on the swing shift, like the 10 to 3 or something like that. Best time of day to work.
Yeah.
And then you're just chilling and drinking coffee and the friends come in and you don't have to stay up late and the customers aren't kind of horrible.
Right. I don't like when a coffee shop closes early. Just
I don't either.
speaking on that point. It's like I'm gonna need some coffee later on in the day or the nighttime perhaps.
I worked at a place that closed at 6 and I felt like that was a little early.
It is.
I know
It
you
is.
pretty much can only go to Starbucks at a certain point after 6, which is like, all right.
It's not the best, but it'll do. I get Starbucks quite often, especially in the nighttime because again, like your point, it's the only thing that's open.
You're a night owl, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I
I'm
would.
really trying to be on my schedules, but yeah, in the summertime, it's just too much fun to kick it up. I
Yeah,
love kicking it up.
or the winter time or the springtime or
I know it is California.
yeah. Getting into it to an actual question here that I do have for you though. When did you start using the moniker Paul Cherry? When did that kind of come about?
That happened when I was playing in a band that was in college, and the band was a folk and bluegrass kind of crossover indie band, and it was pretty cringe. And we were kind of playing a lot of shows around town. Started getting like a there's a girl in my college who wanted to be my manager of this band. Oh, I want to manage you guys. And I was like, oh, cool. And then Mumford and Sons kind of came out on the scene. And it was so horrible that Mumford and Sons popularity caused me to completely quit this band that I was doing and like kind of disband it and just be like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is pretty cringe. Every time I would play a show, I would be getting people being like, dude, you guys sound like Mumford and Sons. And I'd be like, whoa, no way, dude. Not getting compared to this. This is not the way I wanted like folk and bluegrass music to come back in a cool way. I was doing it my own way over here, but people have like a tendency to just, relate things to the closest possible thing that they know. I was like, no, quitting this, done with this. Next thing. And I remember telling this manager girl who I didn't really like that much. I was like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna make some new music. Just call myself Paul Cherry. I think it's a good name. My dad used to get called Cherry. And she was like, I don't know. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think you should do that. I think she just had her own agenda. She wanted me to keep doing the band she was managing. She's like, I really don't think you should do that. And I thought, wow, I'm definitely gonna do that now. How
Now
what
you don't want me to do this. I got to do it now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I
you
just went
solidified
by
it.
Paul Cherry from 2014, almost 10 years later.
Wow. Does it feel like 10 years that you've been Paul Cherry?
Yeah. But I've not done that much music in 10 years, to be honest. I've only put out 2 albums and an EP. I
You're
guess I'm gonna put out another jazz album. I'm trying to race and get another Paul Cherry pop album out so I can say I put out like 4 albums in 10 years, but like most of them happened in the last three. Honestly, a lot of times it was creative non-flow.
right. Well, I
Stuck.
mean, sometimes stuff needs to simmer for a bit, but then once it pops off, it goes. So
True, true.
yeah. So
It's the
2000,
story on that.
right. Um, 2014 is when Paul Cherry emerged.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, good.
And I was just a local guy doing my local thing for years, 4 years.
Do you recall the first couple of gigs that you had?
Yeah, big time.
Were they
I,
at venues or were they or conventional venues or were they at other places?
there was a lot of DIY shows happening in Chicago, a lot of house shows. I was playing at this place called the East Room a lot that I don't think is there anymore. I would open up for bands that, it's a big thing is get opening slot for cool bands like Home Shake and yada yada
Mumford and Sons, yeah.
in Mumford. Yeah. And I would just do that for a while. I also was kind of simultaneously playing bass and singing backups in a 90s cover band. So that was my main paycheck gig was I was like not able to play any shows with my band Paul Cherry on any weekends because I had to work every Saturday playing in this cover band and a lot of Fridays. And that would be good. That would pay me like $300 a gig, and my rent was only $350 a month.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, I definitely need to do this. And I was like 23 or 20, yeah, 22, 23. And so I was like kind of like playing right out of college, playing music full time, chilling. My cover band was pretty cringe, but it was pretty fun. And then I would like book Tuesday night gigs with Paul Cherry. And I would have like a rotating band members, and I didn't take it too seriously. And then somewhere along the way, I really thought, oh God, I don't want to be in this cover band anymore. This feels really dead endy. And, all the other guys in the band were 10 years older than me. And I was like, whoa, I could just come back to this in 10 years if I like am not doing well with my music, but I have to at least give music a chance. And like some of my friends' bands around me were starting to blow up.
Yeah, you had to live in the present and not the 90s for a bit to see how it
Yeah,
was. Yeah.
exactly. And I was just feeling like, wow, I need to give it a shot. And then I kind of said I was going to quit the band, and the other guys were feeling burnt out too. So it was actually great timing where the band just disbanded and broke up. And from that, I was able to walk away with buying the band's van for like 3 grand. And I think I used my exit money, but like we broke up and split up the money in the bank account. I think I used the money to just buy our van. And then from there, I had a tour van that was like, all right, I just got a pretty much free tour van. And then I was able to, around that time, I was like doing my exit strategy of like, all right, I got to have my debut album kind of ready to go. I'm going to line this up. So this is a clean break. So I'm going to break up, get out of this cover band, and I'm going to start jumping like right into trying to go Paul Cherry full time. And I was kind of working on that album in the background the whole time. And then pretty much right when I broke up with the cover band, actually there was some conflicts where I'd be like, yo, I really want to go on tour with Paul Cherry. Can I just go? And I would have to get a sub, or I'd sub out um to play Paul Cherry shows, the cover band. I'd get this guy I knew to play bass for me. So then I wouldn't even be in it sometimes. And
Yeah,
then the
you
guy
kind
who
of,
I was
kind of like
taking,
sublease in a place like, hey, I'm gonna be gone for a little bit. Can you?
exactly.
Yeah.
And then I've met this guy. He was really good at playing bass, but I never saw him. I just heard about it. And I let him sub in because he was younger than me and he was really wanting to make money and be in the scene of cover bands, which I thought was like, why would you want to do that? But there is a scene for that in Chicago. It's very weird. And then I ended up seeing him play bass because we did this show, the last ever cover band show before the band broke up. We all played together, and like everybody who'd ever been in the band got to play a song. And I saw him play bass and I was like, damn, this guy is good, really good. And he was like, I was 23 and he was only 18 or something. He was like really just out of high school. I was like, this dude should play bass in my band. And then that became my bass player, Jojo, who's like now my best friend. And he moved out to LA with me and he's just been in my band for like the last, 8 years or something. So that's
Dang,
been
so
pretty cool.
you took your own replacement. You said, no, I need
Yeah.
that guy back.
He was really young, and I was like, dude, you should just come with me and like we're gonna go on tour. It's gonna be awesome. And then I released this album and Flavor, and then it just kind of did like crazy numbers for me out of nowhere. And I was like, this is cool. This is all working out great according to plan. And then I was getting great tour offers and stuff. It's like sick. Let's go on the tours, every single one. My rent is only $350 a month, you
Um,
know?
and the first album was On Top, and then the next one was Flavor, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
The one that's called On Top was just like, I'm a local guy and I have a tape and here's my music. You know, I recorded it in my bedroom, true bedroom pop. I did everything except the drums on that one.
Wow.
And I was like, I listen to that one now, I'm just like, all right, it's okay. It's not great, you know, but I'll leave it up for the history.
Yeah. Yeah. It's already out there on Discogs. Yeah.
Exactly.
People can see that it exists, so why not embrace it?
Exactly.
Did you feel like Flavor kind of solidified what you wanted to do with the band?
Yeah, it did. When I listen back to it, I think it's really good. And I don't get cringed out by it at all. I think it's really cool. And I pretty much feel that way about all the music I've released except On Top.
All right. That's a pretty good ratio of
It's
liking
great.
to not liking yet.
Hell yeah. I'm like so down with the music that I make. I like make it because I'm down with it or something. Like I I want to when I make a song, I listen to it on repeat a lot. And then when it like and then I that's kind of until it's mastered or whatever. And then I leave it. And then when it comes out, I listen to it a lot on Spotify. Like I listen to my own songs on Spotify while I drive around. And like it's weird that the experience of listening to it when it's just sitting as a file on your phone and then clicking on it on the app and knowing that everybody else can click on it too, it's kind of a different experience.
Yeah. That's wild. How often are these finished Spotify songs different than what the demos were or the original idea was from the phone to the I guess next phase of the phone?
Sometimes they're like changed like three times and sometimes it's the same exact thing. Like the songs on Back on the Music, that album, they got reworked like three different times and like got pretty much re-recorded. Each one got re-recorded at least twice. But then the songs I did with Kate Bollinger that just came out, those only had 1 day of work on them. Like we just worked on the each song for one session. And then we came back one extra time to like redo a little vocal here and tighten up the little mix.
Wow.
But nothing really got like that sounded almost exactly the same out the gate day one as it does on Spotify. And then that's this.
Wow.
And then this one that's coming out, Pure Grooves, the jazz album. This one was all recorded live, like band live takes. So it sounded almost the exact same, just unmixed from the moment it was done.
Wow. So it is it does go both ways, but sometimes it is pretty true to what it was in its initial form.
I'm trying to just make it so it's making music is more easy and fun. And I think re-recording and re-recording and reinterpolating and rethinking everything is just not that fun anymore. It used to be fun because it used to be like me testing myself and I used to like the challenge of that. But now I don't because it's too much work and I have too much going on. So I just kind of write songs every day and then the ones that are the good ones kind of go on the album.
Going back to flavor for a minute. I know that there's the flavor demo uh
Oh yeah.
recordings.
Oh yeah.
When did you decide like, all right, these need to see the light of day as well?
I don't know. I think I did it kind of on a chaotic, whimsical tip where it was the 5 year anniversary of the album, and I just had them sitting in my folder, and I'd found them recently on an old hard drive. And I was like, these are pretty cringe, but they're kind of cool, and they kind of like give an insight to kind of the bridging the gap between that on top tape and then what the flavor album became. Because what I kind of did in the gap is I dropped a certain way I was singing, and I used to sing like really emotionally and like or something like that. And then I kind of changed my singing voice. And then I think that's what you hear in those demos is like the songs, but maybe me singing them differently. And then when you get the final flavor album, I've like established a new kind of singing voice, a little bit sweeter and less rock and roll. I kind of dropped being a rocker.
You think you'll go back at some point? Back to
Soft rock.
okay, cool. All right.
I'm kind of working on a soft rock y kind of album, something chill, like
Good.
Mark Knopfler vibes.
Okay. Or like mix with Mumford or no
Little
Mumford.
Mumford in there, back to my roots. I literally, dude, when I was in high school, I played banjo and I went to bluegrass music festivals with my aunt and uncle. And I thought that bluegrass music was the coolest music from like 15 on to when Mumford came out. And then that shit ruined it. And then I never liked it again. And that cannot listen to it to this day.
What would be your reaction if Mumford asked you like, hey, let's do a tour together?
I
If
would say no.
I just immediately no to the Suns. You're not going with
Actually,
them.
I'd probably get convinced to say yes because it would be so many people in the crowd. The team would tell me that it was a good look,
Yeah.
you know. They're kind of like the folk and bluegrass version of Imagine Dragons
Oh,
in a
yeah.
way, I
Yeah,
think.
I could see that. I could see that. Both contemporaries as well.
They're, but Imagine Dragons, they're Mormon. They're hella Mormon.
I did not know that. Did you grow up Mormon?
No, I grew up Catholic. I had to go to church like twice a week. Su
Wednesdays,
Wednesdays for catechism and
Sundays.
confirmation,
Yeah.
something. And hated that. Was not about that. And then I turned 18. My dad said, all right, you're a man now. You don't have to go to church if you don't want to, but you're gonna make the right choice, right? Or like he was like doing this, you can make your own decisions because you're a man, because you're 18. So you better make the right decision. And I said, okay, I'm gonna decide to sleep in on Sundays because I have to go to goddamn swim practice that you guys made me go to on Saturday mornings. So I didn't go to church for when everybody else, the rest of the family, my sister and my parents would go. And I think they kept going for about a month. And then they stopped going.
Oh, so you were
And I
the
was
first
like,
one out. You were the first one to be like,
to this
no,
day,
I'm not
none
going.
of them go to church. None of my family goes.
Switching gears back to music here. When did you realize, okay, I gotta go out to California. I gotta make this trek out there.
Well, in the pandemic, I was kind of planning on doing it before the pandemic, but I didn't really have the money to move, which was expensive. And then in the pandemic, man, like the Chicago music community that I did have and was sticking around for really crumbled. But I was just like, oh my God, this is so lonely. Even though I was with my wife, like I just don't get everything I don't want to get everything I need out of my wife, to like all of my needs cannot be met by this one person. I don't expect that. And I need to be socializing all the time. I have people come over to my house now every single day to make music. I'm like an over extrovert. So I'm like going crazy, but nobody will hang out. And I just feel like, oh my God, I'm just gonna take this time now and save up my money. This community is not gonna come back. I can feel it. It's not gonna come back the same way. It's gonna come back in a more fractured way. And I was I love the Chicago music community. I love the people in it, but musically, it's not too similar to what I make. It's like, and it was getting less similar. So before that, in the pre-pandemic, my life was like work at a coffee shop a little bit, go on tour a lot, and then go to LA and fly out to do songwriting sessions for like a week at a time between tours. And I got signed to this publishing company called Cobalt as a songwriter, and I didn't really know what that meant. And a couple other of my friends got signed to that as well. But it was kind of like a thing where you can get signed for publishing and you don't have to songwrite for other people, but your own pub songs will be published by this company. But I was the guy who signed me was like, dude, you can like you're a great songwriter. You can like write for other people out here, or you can have other people write for you out here. So I was like flying out and crashing on his couch and seeing what the songwriting world was like out here. And I didn't know that it even existed before this guy found me. And I was really blown away. I was like, this is nuts that people are doing this every day out here. This is incredible. And I can't believe that this is a real thing that happens. Because in Chicago, nobody wants to write a song together. They're down to go to the bar and I'm, it was not like nobody. It was just nobody with me. Maybe other people are collabing, but with me, nobody wanted to get in the studio and do a song together. it was more like we could go to the bar and we could talk about the albums that we're both independently working on. We can go to the studio together and show each other the music, but we're not. And maybe you play a little shaker, or maybe you play a guitar solo on my song, but we weren't sitting there and being like, all right, what's the concept? What is this for? Is this for your album or mine? I have this idea. It wasn't like getting in there like I like to do. And it was just so cool. I was like, this is addicting. I really want to do this. And I really want to just make this my job if I can. And so then I was planning on moving, and then the pandemic hit. I got an extra year to finish my Paul Cherry album, Back on the Music, which I did finish in the pandemic. And then I also saved up like 10 grand working at this bar that I hated working at. And I also made these bucket hats. I was like sewing in the pandemic. I kept myself very busy. And I made saved up 10 grand, and then I moved us out to LA, me and my wife and my dog. And we moved out here for my music dream, which I made a song about that. It's called Between Me and Chicago. And it's like been super chill. It's been like, I feel like there was a golden age of community in Chicago between 2014 and 2018 of like really cool people, really cool music, shows every night, same crew, just tons of drinking and chilling. And then that went away. And then since I moved back here, I've got a new version of that in my 30s. Feels like I get an extension of my 20s, except I'm wiser and better. And everybody out here is really talented. And I just get to, I'm obsessed with my life is so good. I'm just having a great time.
Have you been back to Chicago since leaving?
I have barely been back. I do not really go back. And I think I don't, it's not like I don't want to. It's just, I don't really go anywhere. I just stay here. And it's hard to pull away for any number of days to do anything because every single day I'm working on a song with somebody, and I've got like many irons in the fire. Right now I'm working on 3 different remixes, and I'm doing a mix on a song for somebody, and I'm doing a session like in an hour with my friend Ryan. And tonight I have band practice, and then I have a show on Saturday. And it's like it just never stops once it kicks up, and I don't want it to stop because I don't like being bored. But yesterday I took a day off, which don't really do either. But that was only because I was so hungover. But I still did my live stream, so it wasn't a
Yeah,
full.
yeah. You get done what you have to get done at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, was it difficult to get these irons going when you first moved out here, or was it instantly like, all right, we're off to the races, doing this, doing that, and
It was
completing
kind of
this?
it was a resources battle for LA. Like in Chicago, you can get really like you can get an amazing studio, like a recording studio for like you can get in on like I was sharing this place that was $1,000 a month with 3 or 4 bands, and I was paying $250 a month to have this full recording studio with a tracking like a live room and an ISO room and a like whole gear rack and everything you need, all the gear, like. And then you move out here, and everyone's so much, and there's so many more people to work with, and they're so talented, but you don't have the resources to like host. So you're going to other people's studios, but then you can't really work on the tracks outside of that because you don't have a studio. So I was bouncing around from like metal band practice rooms that I could find to share, but you can only get like 1 day a week there, or production studio, but it's like $350 a month and you only get 2 days a week there. And it was just so hard the first year and a half to find. I didn't have my own place. I had a 1 bedroom apartment with my wife, and we were getting used to the California price adjustment. And I was doing sessions all the time, but I wasn't seeing results because if you want to see results, you have to do most of the work. And so now I've recently moved into a little back house in Frogtown. Um, and we're in my studio shed right now. And it's really chill. But I have a drum kit, I have a piano, I have guitars, and this is its own freestanding building next to my house. So I can be loud, and I can host sessions every day. I sit in here and I do all my video editing, and I do shoot video in here. I can do like whatever, and I'm unbothered, and I can leave it set up, and I can come in here at 2 in the morning if I want. It's been much easier to keep the ball rolling when I have my own studio, and I get projects out the door. Like I can sit here. I mixed this whole album in here. I like hit my deadlines because I can do it because I have the space and I have the time. So I think the first year and a half was hard, but getting the lay of the land and kind of in figuring out LA for the first year and a half was like it was an inevitability I had to do. And I had fun doing it. It wasn't like I was like struggling through it. I was having a blast. And now I feel like the real work is coming in now. And I'm like trying to I have noticed that like there's been a little steam or wind picking up with the Paul Cherry thing. And I'm like, I want to keep that going. I want to keep that momentum going. I don't want to slow down. I already felt like the pandemic slowed me down so much as an artist, that I just like I have to work double hard to get back to where I was before that, and I'm down and I'm enjoying it. So just doing that.
Would you have had that mindset or energy if it wasn't for the pandemic? Do you think that you would have been moving slower?
Yeah, so I
If
would have not if the pandemic never happened, I probably wouldn't have learned my lesson, I think. Because I think that my work ethic was kind of like before I moved to LA, it was like, all right, we're gonna just take our time, make the best album we can make, and then when it's ready, the world can hear it. And that is a great mindset to make great records, I will say, except it's a very punishing mindset and it beats you up because it gives you the ability to take forever. And taking forever on something is kind of horrible because it allows doubt to creep in. And when doubt creeps in, you can stall and you let yourself stall because you've told yourself, I will take all the time in the world to make the best album I can make. But every day that you hear the song and you hate it, half of those days you're going to say, I don't want to do anything to it because I hate it today. Like I'm just afraid of the work. And now my race to the finish line mindset has let some of the tracks I do like be a little bit looser. Like the bolts aren't tightened down as hard, but overall I'm having more fun and I've enjoyed my life more and the music is just as good. It's just maybe like a little bit messier, but I'm down. Like I don't care. I'd rather have it be this way because I like want to enjoy my life more than not. And making the Back on the Music album was not fun. It was like pretty painfully dreadful experience.
wow,
It was like
really,
Chicago winter, you know, rolling around in the pandemic, like I like totally gray, dark skies. Every day you go to the studio and you're sitting there for 10 hours and you're just like, this sucks. This thing sucks. And then you're sitting around banging your head until I have an idea. Okay, finally. But this idea kind of sucks too. It's like not fun.
how do
Album's good.
you yeah how do you deal is doubt inevitable? That feeling, is it inevitable with anything that you're working on?
Yeah, it's inevitable.
How do you
Uh,
deal with it now, or how has that changed?
well, here's an example of how it still creeps in for me is I have like 3 songs I've got for my new album that I feel pretty good about. And on a Monday, I showed one person in my studio on the session, 2 of them back to back, and they sound pretty different. One sounds like this, the other sounds like this. I showed this girl on a Monday, both of them. She loved this one. And then I showed a dude on a Tuesday, both of them, and he loved this one. And on that Monday, I was like, oh, yeah, this is the direction I'm going to go in. Great. But then on Tuesday, I was like, oh, God, no, this is the direction I'm going to go in. And I'm just like, oh, no, like, oh, yeah, there's a lot of people on Earth and they're all going to like a different version of a thing. So I can't rely on like other people's opinions about which direction I should go in because it's not my own opinion. So it's just like even now I'm just like, all right, God, I think it's just like a betting game. Like I don't know what's gonna be the most commercially viable. I don't know how much I care. but I definitely do care because when you put out an album and it doesn't do what you think it's going to do, it's really discouraging. So I want to do the best thing I can do in the best time frame and have it be the most successful. I just don't, you just never know what you're going to get because it's your own brain kind of making things out of thin air.
Right. You're your own worst critic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know when shit is good though, dude. Like I listen to it and I'm like, yep, that's a banger. We're gonna go forth with this banger, and I know that I trust that.
Yeah. With this new album that we kind of touched upon a little bit, the Pure Grooves, and this is a jazz instrumental album,
Mhm.
right? When you were starting to work on that, did you feel like there was some apprehension towards like, oh, this is kind of different than what people know from what I usually put out?
Yeah, I was a little apprehensive about it, but I thought it would be better in the long term to do a consistency play and make this thing that is maybe like a different offering for my crowd. Um, but I feel like my music has so much jazz influence and it's like kind of like there's so many kind of cool, crazy chords happening that it's something that you could have expected from me, like it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. Um, I like tried on my last album, Back on the Music too, like really jazz pop fusion, in a lot of ways. Um, so I thought, and I'd been touring with my live band for the last year and a half, and they're just so good. And I had all these little like scrap melody ideas from the last album and new things I'd come up with. And I was just like, dude, we can just make this jazz album. You guys are so good at playing. Like, we can just live track it and we'll do it in like 3 or 4 sessions. And it's gonna be so I was like, it's gonna be so easy to make because there's no lyrics, there's no concepts. It's just jazz music and it can be whatever. And we play this stuff live and it sounds so good. And I was just like, I feel like Paul Cherry fans would fuck with this. And it's going to be a great way to be consistent and not have a year off of an album. And I'm learning that in this, really fast-paced content, like, sphere, you got to be releasing stuff a lot. You got to be releasing a lot of stuff. And I don't really want to be making TikTok videos of me doing cover songs. I just don't want to do that. And I don't even really want to be self-promoting that hard. Like, I don't want to keep being like, did you listen to our new single? Did you, you know, stream the new single? Like, I don't want to do that. I'd rather just keep putting out lots of tracks. So instead of it being like me reminding you that a song came out a month ago and you still haven't listened to it yet, or pre-save, this is coming out in a month. I'd rather just like every month there be a new song and you're just like, oh, cool. Yeah, another new one. This guy's busy, you know?
Yeah.
But like I already like made these 10 songs in like, a couple days. So it just feels like I'm busier. But it's just not the same song. I mean, I think that that's a big TikTok and Instagram Reels play is to like drill something into your head by keeping playing the song like every day, a new version of the song, or I'm singing it acoustic in a grocery store today. And then here's how I built the track on Ableton. And like I just don't want to do any of that crap. It's just
Yeah.
not interesting.
Let the music speak for itself.
Exactly.
If
And
you
let it be like more music, not the one song that you've got. Like, but I get trying to run up one single for the numbers and like trying to appear legit. Everybody's legit. Everybody's got a logo and everybody's got a brand and whatever. I do too. But mine's like a little bit not giving a shit about the trad way of doing it.
when you set out to do this Pure Grooves record, did you set out realizing like, hey, we're just gonna do a jazz
Definitely.
album?
There's this guy called KJC Music on YouTube. It's a channel with maybe 10,000 subscribers, and he's a re-upload guy. He's kind of like a David Dean Burkhart of 90s and 80s jazz. And I've been obsessed with him. And I mostly was for like a year just listening to, Pat Metheny and things like, the Brecker brothers and the stuff on this guy KJC Music's page. And it's got this really clean, it's like this really clean fusion jazz that sounds really cheesy, but really satisfying for my ears. It's kind of like if you got into city pop, Japanese city pop, and then you got into like YMO, and then you got into maybe the Yellow Jackets, then you'd kind of go like that way to further in, get into this guy KJC Music. And he makes albums too, and he kind of like hides them in the uploads. And I was like, damn, this guy's just a radio DJ from like Springfield, Illinois or something. And I just like, I'm obsessed with him. He's like a total head. And I was like, dude, my goal is to make an album that like would slot directly in with this. So this is the page. And look at these album covers. And also this is Fatburger, which is a really funny smooth jazz band. It's like all of them have these album covers that look like this. He uploads these 4-hour smooth jazz mixtapes. And it's just here, let's go to the videos. It's just endless content with the album covers look like this.
Yeah.
Endless covers like this. And they're all so cool,
Yeah. It's
I
rad.
was I was obsessed with this channel and I wanted to make my album cover like that. I
Right.
also had a pretty strong concept. I was like obsessed with Pure Moods, that new age music compilation from the early 2000s. And I was obsessed with the Pure Moods commercial. And I was like, I'm calling my thing Pure Grooves. And it's going to be a bi-yearly, every other year series that I do against pop albums. So it's going to be Pure Grooves, Paul Cherry, Pure Grooves, Paul Cherry. Every year you're going to get a different one. And like, I'm just like setting up the pillars of a successful, consistent artist,
Hmm.
and it keeps me busy.
Because
So,
this is technically volume one, Pure Grooves
yeah.
volume one. Okay. Yeah, I like
And
that.
I just wanted to make something that was like vibey, like the 80s fusion smooth jazz that I like, but also not limited to just that zone. Like this album, Pure Grooves, it kind of touches and references all my favorite kinds of jazz of that time, and it references stuff like Keith Jarrett, and it's got a real like standard kind of jazz standard kind of tune, and it's kind of all over the place, but it's got a lot of fusion style. I was really obsessed with this guy Jeff Lorber Fusion, who's a SoCal 80s guy. He's like an Orange County guy.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
And he is a keyboard player who just has that really funny major pentatonic solo style. He kind of like, I feel like he was one of the first to do the classic smooth jazz style melodies, like top line heads. I just love that sound. I love jazz that is like the head melody, or the main melody is like the focus, almost like pop jazz, like kind of like how Kenny G does it. I'm like not that mad about Kenny G, but I don't love it either. But that's kind of like my style. So I wanted to do something like that.
Gotcha. Um, kind of taking a step back to the cover art of those jazz albums in your own cover art, and not just with Pure Grooves, but your other releases. Do you focus on that often? Like, is that a big part of it for you? Like, this is the visual representation of what I'm doing sonically.
I didn't used to do that. I didn't used to care about that because I used to try to make the music so colorful that it would basically take care of that. Like the Flavor album and the Back on the Music album, the goal was like one really iconic, vibey looking album cover, and then all the music sounds like that album cover. Like it's so pop colorful and off kilter that it like the imagery of the album cover is pop forward but off kilter, and the music is the same. And I think it's both were successful in that goal. But now, obviously, dude, it's like you're either gonna pick up with the times and like follow suit in some way that feels like true to yourself, or you'll fall behind.
And I just couldn't ignore the fact that visual representation of the thing is just like what people need to invest in it
Hmm.
and to get there as a fan. And so I picked that up and I was like, all right, for this jazz record, this is gonna be my foray, my introduction into video work. I never did the videos myself before, but I knew that that time was nearing. And so like this first single, Our Night, with the jazz album, I did all that. I did that commercial myself, shot every shot. I did the music video myself with my friend, and I just like know that this is what I need to do to stay in the game, especially if I'm trying to push something like smooth jazz on people that is probably not what they're trying to consume. That's what I must do, is I must like take it all the way, dedicate myself to taking that vision all the way to the finish line, and then I can be successful with it. Otherwise, it'll probably just fall off, you know.
Right. By the way,
So
the video that you're referring to and the trailer are both on your YouTube, right?
yeah.
Okay, cool. Those be linked below, whatever you're listening to this to, because those are rad. The commercial like really set a good tone.
I knew that I had that Kate Bollinger collab video that we did that was a big knockout, and everybody really loved it. And I was like getting so much love from people about how good the video was. And I was like, damn, like these videos matter, huh? And so I knew I had to like tee up another knockout because that's how you like get the ball rolling. The videos are gonna have to be a big focus for me. And luckily nowadays the music isn't as hard for me to make. So
Mhm.
I do have more time in my brain and space to make that happen. But truly, I am out here doing it all myself, you know, with
Yeah.
the help from my friends.
With this Pure Grooves album, when you set out to do it in instrumental, fully instrumental album, do you think that lended freedom to explore other avenues of instrumentals that you wouldn't have gone down if it were a vocal or vocals were involved with it?
No, because I think about it like it is a pop album. When I think about those songs, like the R Night, the one that came out, it's just a big, strong melody, big chorus. Boo doo 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 doo. It's like that's a chorus. And then there's other ones. The first song on the album's like do 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 do. You're like, that's a big melody. Every single song has a big fat melody that is gonna get stuck in your head. That was kind of the point of it.
Okay.
That was part of it too, is like pushing forth instrumental music that it's really catchy.
Has your trajectory of like the discography of your music, is it always transitioning into something else? Like this will bleed into the next project and the next project will bleed into the next, and you can see this kind of trajectory of where you're trying to go linearly through music?
Not on purpose, but I'm definitely not trying to make the same album twice. Kind of think about it always like, okay, I want to put one foot in the door of the last album and one foot out where it's somewhere new. And like even on this Pure Grooves album, nobody knows it yet because I haven't heard it, but there's all this radio interstitial work where like after the first song, you'll hear my voice come in and be like, "You're tuned in to 96.9," you know? And that's kind of like a back harkening to my first album where there's all these phone calls. And I wanted to put like a Paul Cherry style spin on it. So then you have like these obsessed callers that call in throughout the album and they're like, "Hey Cherry, big fan of the show. Just wanted to call in and say this, you know." And and then I have this phone number that's linked on the album too that you can call me and leave me a text. And people have been, since I put that commercial out, people have been calling me on the phone and I just answer and I say, "What's up?" or text me and it sends to my email and I can like respond to text that way. And
Oh
it's just
wow.
like, it's been really fun, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. When did that element come in with like, oh, let's make it like a radio kind of style?
Smooth jazz radio, like public radio, I was just like really feeling like I wanted to do a public radio vibe. The whole album is kind of inspired by my mom and my grandma who love jazz, or my grandma's dead, but she loved jazz. And like I remember just driving around in her car when I was a little kid and she'd have the cheesy smooth jazz station on. in the 90s when I would be like driving around going to Burger King or Target with her. And at like just when you're really young and impressionable, that stuff like really sticks with you. I just really vividly remember all the music that was playing in the car as I was driving around in when I was a kid. And like that, my mom raised me on Pat Metheny, and I was like, dude, like I love this kind of 90s jazz sound. I love it. And I want it. I just can't help. I have to do it, you know. And I just want to do something like do you know the Nature Company?
No.
Like the Nature Company is like a style of t-shirts. So my Pure Grooves mood board on Pinterest has these Nature Company t-shirts that are like this.
Oh, rad. Okay, yeah. I know
You
what
know
you're
this?
talking about. Yeah, Under
Okay.
Pressure. Oh, that one's rad.
So I was like, I want the album cover to look like that. I want it to be like a Nature Company style, like peace, love, and humanity kind of like vibe. Mm, and not in the way that like Online Ceramics does it or something. You know, like it's not like I don't like it, it's just that's been done a lot. And I was thinking like this on a t-shirt would be pretty fire.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of the imagery. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I'm not mad about it. It's all adventure for me.
Who did the art for that?
This guy, I think his name's Kyle. He's a album artist and I think just dude that lives in Philly. I got connected to him through my label for this record, Born Losers, and he he did the Alex G album cover with the parrots on it. You know that
Oh,
cover?
okay. Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, his Instagram is Earth and Worms. You should check him out.
Earth and Worms. Yeah, that
Yeah,
that looks your album cover looks rad. Yeah, so I'm assuming his stuff is really
yeah,
cool.
crushed it. He did all with pastel colored pencil.
That definitely invokes a feeling. That
Yeah,
that album cover. Paul, I do really appreciate you being here, sir. It's an absolute pleasure. But before I let you go, I do have to do some promo stuff. So Paul Cherry's music is streaming everywhere, wherever you get your music. That's where you can find it. You can buy On Top, Flavor, Back on the Music, and the most recent song that we were kind of talking about with Kate Bollinger,
Bollinger.
Bollinger, Los Angeles Story. And you could pre-order Pure Grooves Volume 1, and get the merch. They're those both are at paulcherry.bandcamp.com, and the Pure Grooves will be coming out through Born Losers Records. Do you have a date on it? I know it's September.
September 15th.
Okay, cool.
We're gonna go on a big tour with that one too.
Oh, cool.
So
All
after
right.
that.
Good deal. And you and Dante Elefante on Born Losers. Great,
That's right.
great group of people there. And that's Philly based as well, right?
Yeah, Philly based.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. They're putting out some good stuff. And
They are. They're killing it.
yeah. And the people can stay up to date with news, releases, shows, and everything else by following you on Instagram, right? That's the best place.
Please follow me on Instagram.
At Paul Cherry 69, all one word.
That's right.
And is the Hidden Gems show, is that coming back, or is that still
We did one last night. Hidden
okay?
Gems, it happens probably every 2 weeks. I've just been so busy, but Wednesdays at 6, I usually have an indie rock guest. We talk about songs with under 100,000 plays on Twitch, and we just hang out. And I just bullshit, and it's a great time. We had Jordana on last night. Listen to her music; it's so good. And yeah, that's my live stream show. I love it. People seem to enjoy watching too, so check it out.
Rad, and you can go check that out right now by going to the YouTube. There's a couple of the episodes up there as well, right?
Yeah, and twitch.tv/paulcherry69. The last episode's up there too. You can go check it out. Follow me there.
Good deal. And again, that's Pure Grooves Volume 1 coming out September 15th via Born Losers.
Thank you, dude.
Thank you, Paul. You're awesome. I'm gonna stop recording this. I'll talk to you in a minute. All right.
All right, sounds good. Peace.
Thank you, sir.